If you think travel hacking takes years to pay out with free flights, hotel nights, and extra perks, think again. We've spent over 100 hours researching and testing travel hacks to bring you our first full year in review on today's Travel Hack Update.
Welcome to the Travel More podcast.
Each episode, we share custom itineraries, travel hacks, expert advice, and even stories of our past travel failures to help you level up your travel game.
I'm Shelly, a lover of plans, itineraries, and cheap flights. I'm an expert deal finder with one eye always on the budget.
And I'm Bruce, the improviser, ready to pick up where plans fail to turn letdowns into unexpected trip favorites. We're here to bust through barriers that stop you from making your travel dreams a reality.
So book that flight, buy the tickets, and say hello to your next adventure.
This is the Travel More Podcast. Welcome back to the Travel More Podcast.
Welcome.
We're getting towards the end of the year. It's already dark here, and we lost an hour.
Yeah.
So it definitely feels like the winter sky is out.
Yep. Which I don't hate. Like, I'm not mad about winter coming. That's like the one thing I love about New England is the season changes. They're so...
It's a dramatic shift.
It's a dramatic shift. That's what I'm looking for.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's definitely like... When it's summer, it's summer. It's hot. It's humid. Bugs are out. Those are all like the bad things, I guess, in summer. But like, it's also like this summer, I guess it just rained the whole time. We don't know. We weren't here in the summer, but
we were gone.
We were gone like the whole summer.
From what we hear, it rained a lot.
From what we hear, yeah. And then the fall is beautiful. Just now we're kind of getting over the whole leaf
peak season. Yeah, it's been I think a week out of like today peak. Really felt like indigo rust in November.
Yeah, indigo
rust. Just like the leaves are past. Some of them are all completely gone.
The sky was like on the way home today, which I guess was the sunset, but it just feels so early because I was driving home before 5:00, and it was like pink and purple and blue.
It's a beautiful winter twilight.
It was almost like a book, almost like an interesting version of like the Northern Lights, even though it's not the same phenomenon at all. Yeah, but it just felt like it's like, oh, this is like this like winter glow.
Yeah, but I don't know if everyone has the same seasonal. Well, I'm sure people have different things, but there's
positive not everyone does because we definitely don't have that in Memphis as much. It gets colder.
It gets darker, but not in the same way.
No, and you definitely don't get the like stark differences. It gets a little colder, and then it warms up in the spring around March. Here, the spring doesn't really start until like mid to late April, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, it feels late. But yeah, I'm excited for the winter. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, and it's a nice time to kind of look at our whole year of travel, and today especially to look at our first full year of travel hacking.
I'm so excited for this one.
I know, me too, because we've had a few episodes where we've kind of dived into different aspects, but I'm really excited because when Shelly was building this list and we were talking about the script together, we just
kept from being like, wait a minute, there's also this and
right.
this and that.
There's so many different things we've been able to do, and it's not even been that long, to be honest.
No, it hasn't been. And listen, I'm a lot of an obsessive person, so I do tend to get quite obsessed with things and really dive in deep with them, and travel hacking was definitely that thing. I'm also like easy to move on very quick as well. So it was probably that way for 2 months or so where I was really, I was like reading all the books, reading all the blogs, listening to all the podcasts. I was like really, really into it. But since then, I've just been able to kind of like read tidbits here and there, some updates when they come out, and just kind of keep on top of the world of points and miles. But honestly, I feel like I have a very good handle on it. Obviously, we've done a lot of episodes on it.
Oh, yeah. We've got the core down, I think.
That's what I mean.
Now it's just the changing atmosphere.
Yeah. So it's like, have I spent a ton of time researching travel hacking and things? Yes. Although I would say it's one of those things. We say this with like skiing and snowboarding too. What do we say? It's like snowboarding is easy.
Snowboarding is easier to start.
But it's hard to be really good at.
Yeah, and skiing is really hard to get started.
But then it's like, once you're good, you're good.
Yeah, once you're ready to go, you kind of can
I would say travel hacking's in that realm.
More
so
like
it's a skiing realm. It's like, it is a little hard to get into, and it's like a little overwhelming, I feel, and it's really nerve-wracking to like make those first transfers and book those first things, and then it's like exhilarating.
So now I'm just picturing this as a skiing metaphor, and I'm like, yeah, because the boots make no sense. They're uncomfortable. They feel like they're gonna break your ankles off.
You're just like
so
going
tight.
in on the ski.
Listen,
metaphor.
I'm just remembering the first time I really learned how to ski. Which, if you learn to ski and you're not a child, it's embarrassing and very difficult.
And painful.
And you better have a very kind friend that's willing to stay with you. While it's painful too.
You
anyway,
definitely, yeah.
Travel hacking is not painful.
Not
Although
painful.
It can feel painful if you don't have a guide or somebody to help you out. But that's why we're here, to help you out.
Yep.
So, hey, but before we get into the full episode, we do want to shout out to Carrie. It's Carrie, right?
I think it's Carrie.
It's Carrie. She bought us coffee.
From our little Buy Me a Coffee link.
Yes, the Buy Me a Coffee link.
It makes our day. It's such a nice feeling.
I know, it's like the best email we get. It's
Yeah.
just somebody to reach out and just give us a little comment. So thank you so much. I think it's Carrie. Or is it Kari? I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Either
I think
way,
it's Carrie, but...
let us know if we pronounced your name right. But thank you so much for the coffee. Really appreciate that.
And the little note. Honestly, the note's like just as nice.
I know, it's really nice. Anybody who's been reaching out and joining the Facebook group, just hearing your feedback and things that you like and maybe stuff that you'd like to hear, it's so awesome. And as we kind of get to this end year, we're thinking about season 2.
Yeah.
So if you've got something you want to hear about, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get into it today. We're kind of wrapping up. We've reviewed all the various things we've done, and we've got kind of some stats to share.
Yeah.
And hopefully, excite you guys, because really the key takeaway today is that it doesn't take long to get a lot of benefit from travel hacking.
Yeah, when I started like this journey in May of 2022, I really I was listening to it and I was like, okay, there's one of two things happening here. Either these people are rich and they have tons of monthly spend, so they're just racking up points because they're spending $10,000 a month or something, or they're literally like counting all their spend for 5 years and then redeeming it for one flight. And I just didn't understand, I don't get how you can do all of these flights or all these hotels year after year after year. I was I just don't understand.
Right, it doesn't
We're
add
on
up.
teacher budgets. I just was this is not, there's got to be something I'm missing, because so many people say it. So I was there's got to be a trick to it. So I found the trick. I figured it out, and I'm here to tell you what that trick is. And realistically, we don't have crazy high spend. Like I said, we both are on school budgets. We are double income, no kids. So we have a little more expendable income maybe than if you're not in that situation.
Yeah, and we do spend a good amount of our money on travel for the last few years because that's what we like to do.
Right, but this is all spend. This isn't just travel.
No, I know. I'm just saying, if you're thinking about what we're doing and, wow, they must have a certain amount of money or they're in a lot of debt, neither are true.
Yeah.
And the way we've kind of accumulated points is just by spending what we normally would spend.
Just being a little smarter about where and how.
Yeah, so it's not like we're having to spend more money to somehow get points, which would be like a no-gain situation.
Yeah, absolutely not.
That's
or
not what
holding
happens.
credit card balances, all of those things negate. So that's probably the first thing we should just mention is if you don't trust yourself with credit cards, this game is never going to pay off for you. If you're holding balance on cards, it's a lose.
Can't do that.
Yeah, so only if you can pay off your cards is this the way. All right, so although we say this is the first full year, we are technically taking these stats back from May 2022. So we're really closer to a year and a half at this point. But this is our first full year of 2023.
Yeah, I would say full year. And also kind of we started to look into travel hacking. And then I think this last year is really, we redeemed a lot of things and tried things out.
Yeah, we hadn't really done any redemptions before this year. I mean, except for our see, this is where I got my wrong thoughts from. Is because we had this Capital One Venture card, which we love, and we used that for travel hacking way back in 2017. That was our first
that was
thing.
when we went to
Remember?
Europe. Yep,
Because we got
time.
the bonus, the 60,000 points. We bought plane tickets and erased them, quote unquote, for 60,000 points. And we were wow, that was cool. It's gonna take us 5 years to spend another $60,000.
It felt like a one and done.
Yeah, which is pretty much what happened. We waited another 5 or 6 years before we spent that much money again, and that was only on one card. And then we again bought a flight on it or something, and we're well, this takes forever. This isn't worth it at all.
Right, and I think part of that is we didn't really have credit cards, and I think we were a little bit nervous to get into it, and we both got our credit card. We saw, ooh, this is a nice card. You get 2 times the points. You can erase travel. why would I do anything else?
Right.
And that's kind of the first thing we're going to talk about is like since May 2022, we've opened up.
What have we been into?
Yeah, what have we been doing? We've opened up
opening a lot of credit cards is the answer.
10 cards. So between Shelly and I, we've opened up 10. And yeah, some of them are business cards because we both have, businesses on the side.
Side gigs. Although I will say, if you're like, well, we don't have a podcast, we don't have a travel agency, Bruce does gigging for musicians, like those are legit businesses for sure. But there's a lot of things I think people don't realize would count as legit businesses. Dog walking, babysitting. Some people have been successful putting things like Uber Eats, selling on Poshmark, like these things that
Etsy.
Etsy, right, exactly. These things that feel like, well, that's not a real business. I don't have an LLC, and you don't need that. Like Bruce is gigging, his like musicianship stuff. He doesn't have an LLC for that, and he was easily accepted. And he does have a few expenses for that, so that helps. But just keep in mind, if you're looking at business cards and thinking, well, I don't have a business, I would think again and just really rack your brain. Like, is there something you get paid for that's not in your normal 9 to 5? Because if so, that might count as a business, and I would look into it. Yeah,
and the nice thing about the business cards is that they're not affecting your credit.
Personal credit. Right.
Yes, the same way as opening up regular cards.
And they have their own like stack of benefits.
Yep, they come with different things, different perks.
Right. So definitely look into. So yeah, like Bruce said, 10 cards between the two of us. So 5 and 5 roughly. Although I think you opened a couple more than I did.
We were about half and half, but either way.
We're close.
Oh, that's one thing to remember as we think about tips and looking back at our year. If you open up a card and you've got a player two, be careful about opening the card up with both people on it.
Oh, authorized users?
Yes, because sometimes that can affect your ability to also get the card. So Shelly and I have gotten like the Venture Capital One card, and we each had it, and we each got bonuses.
Mm-hmm. Right. It doesn't really affect your, like, if you're an authorized user, it doesn't affect your ability to open that card. However, authorized users are going to show up on your personal credit score and therefore count as Chase's 524 rule.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
It could count as one of the cards you've gotten.
Even though it's not, like, your card.
Yes.
So I would be very careful about who you use as an authorized user, although I'm on Bruce's Venture X right now, and I would 100% say to do that because now we both get that priority lounge pass.
But either way, not to get into that too much because you can go back and listen to some of our summer school episodes when we break down cards and everything. But
the biggest thing I think that the takeaway here is 10 cards a lot in a year and a half? Yeah, it is. Between the two of us, we essentially are always working on a spending bonus, and I like racked my brain trying to figure out a way that we could not have a high monthly spend and still rack up points. And people were like, there's a way to do it without opening cards. And honestly, I don't think there is. Like, I really thought, like, what are people doing except opening cards? They're not doing anything. They're opening cards. Yeah, like, that is the way.
That is the way. That is the number one way. And honestly, I think 2 years ago, if you told me I was going to open up between Shelly and me 10 cards, I would have been like, that seems irresponsible.
Yeah.
And, like, wrong.
Right. You do have to have a system. I mean, you have to watch your annual fees. You have to watch your spending and make sure everything's on auto debit just in case you miss something. I mean, you really have to pay attention to it. Bruce and I look at our finances about once a week, and we go over every single credit card, account that we have, and just to make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks.
And you might be sitting there thinking like, yeah, no way. That's way too much time. And just remember, like, Shelly and I have built this into a habit, and it honestly doesn't take that much time. And if you think about the amount of time, let's say I spend 30 minutes a week just looking at our cards and finances and keeping on top of it. If I equate that to like what I'm getting paid out in benefits.
This is a great segue to our next section.
For 30 minutes a week, and that's what I'm saying. But think about it. 30 minutes a week, you're getting all these benefits. The time it takes to get to that point, you really think about what you're getting paid per hour in that way. It's a lot. It's a lot for a little bit of time.
Speaking of payment, here's what we have accumulated, which honestly, this blows my mind. I was like doing this math, and I was like, there's no way this is right. And actually, I almost feel like we lowballed this.
I think so too.
I think we lost or left out a couple things. But our total points accumulated for what we can account for off the cuff is 1,092,840 between two teacher salaries in a year and a half. 1 million points is how much we've accumulated. That is obscene. That's just crazy to me. Like, that's so many points. And just to give you an idea of like what does that mean, those are when they're transferred into airlines, it looks like 1 million frequent flyer miles.
Right.
Like that's what that looks like if you're really thinking about it. So we flew a short flight from Copenhagen to Frankfurt this summer for 6,000 points. 6,000. We've accumulated 1 million. Like we could essentially fly like that forever. Like the little like 6,000 flights. I mean, you don't always find those, but still.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a very short, but you know.
But if you're in Europe for the summer,
that's true. See, this is you got to think about how am I flexing all these points,
right.
which is another big. So aside from that, over 1 million points we've accumulated, we've actually only spent about 377,000 points. We've redeemed them. So
and we felt like we were going all out last summer on them too, and we
right.
still like look at it and we're like, oh, actually, like we have almost 700,000 points right now. We're chilling on.
Right. So it's like we've accumulated all this, and we're about to like run down all the things we've been able to spend using the points, and that's only like a third ish of what we've accumulated.
And we're still, I mean, obviously we're always accumulating points as well. I will say, Bruce and I are kind of like in the middle of things. We're not exactly sure like what we're doing this summer, things like that. If we had a very set plan for the summer, I would have definitely already spent some of those to book some summer trips because 11 months out is the best time to do that. And I'm trying to be at least in the methodology of what they call earn and burn. So not just hoarding points.
Right.
Because any day they can change the whole game. So it's like, it's better. It's not great to hoard points over time. And if we had a little more set kind of itinerary for the summer, I would have already done it. So when you hear me, you're like, oh, you have 700,000 points like for a rainy day. Yeah, I wish could spend those right now. I just, right. We're just not in the exact place we want to be to figure out our summer plans.
Yeah, I definitely recommend don't hold on to points forever, because the game has changed in the past, and it's
literally changed since we started.
Yeah, and it will continue to change. I know there's discussions like on a legal level and like congressional level around how points work.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We'll update you when you hear more about that. But why don't we talk about
burn and burn,
Aaron and burn. Why don't we talk about what we got out of all that?
Wait, there's one more thing I want to say.
Okay, what's one more thing?
So we spent 377,000 points in the last year and a half, but also we've also redeemed 5 free nights through the Capital One travel
the benefits.
And like Marriott card free night certificates. Like we've had 5 free hotel nights that are not included in that 377,000 points.
Right, those are the benefits you get from some of the cards that come with yearly fees.
Yeah.
And, remember, that's one thing about some of the best cards we've got with intro bonuses. They do have yearly fees, but they pretty much always balance out to zero, if not a gain.
Again, this is one of those things where I would be ready to spend some time if you're going to start to accumulate annual fees, because you really want to make sure you're using all of those perks to make sure that you are getting as close to zero on the annual fee as you can, because no one likes paying for 3 years for a $400 card and then being like, I haven't used this thing in forever. Like you just lost like $400 a year. Like you don't want to do that either. So before you start to accumulate these high annual fee cards, I definitely would make sure it's part of your habit to be checking and making sure you're doing all those things.
Yeah, and go back to our episode on building your wallet.
Right.
And it gives you an idea of kind of like why we would pick certain cards over others.
Yeah, just also in a full disclosure, I believe right now we're right over $1,000 in annual fees between all the cards. So almost none of our cards have annual fees. Like of the 10 we've opened, I think we've opened 4 with annual fees. And one of those is a business card. And one is that Venture X, which has a $400 fee. So obviously that's where the big chunk of our $1,000 a year comes from. But like Bruce said, like we do get all the benefit out of that. Obviously, those 5 free nights in themselves, that's about $1,000 at $200 a night. But there's more than that. But that's just an example of like.
Don't forget the DoorDash, $10 a month. That's very important to mention.
So anyway.
So when Shelly's like, we should cook. I'm like, no, we have $10 on. No, not DoorDash. Uber Eats. That's what I meant.
I actually think we might have 10 in both.
Yes. You might be right.
Yeah, I think it's 10
It was the
and
Amex Gold. Amex Gold is great for food. That's all I know. Groceries and dining.
Yeah. Yeah, $10 buys you a lot on Uber Eats.
Listen, it's enough to convince you, so I don't have to cook.
All right, so let's talk about where have our points taken us. We're at 377,000 points. taken us in the last year and a half. This is like the fun part.
This is fun. Let's see. What do we got? London with Dad is the first one.
That was our first redemption.
That was the first one?
Like, well, it was my first transfer redemption. Like, where I took points and I transferred them into JetBlue.
Was that really the first time we did? Oh, my gosh.
It was very scary.
That
I was like,
scary.
shaking.
See, that was like your first black diamond. I'm going back to the skiing metaphor we got to.
It was scary. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it was a lot of points, 140,000. Because there's 3 of us. I took all 3 of us to London for free. I mean, like, quote unquote free because it was points. But it was my dad's first trip to Europe.
So it was like skiing down a black diamond and just French fry, no pizza. And it's New England. So there's like ice and rocks.
This is like a lot. This is a lot of a metaphor. Point is, we were able to take my dad to Europe for the first time, which what a cool gift, you know, to be able to do that. So
absolutely.
That's like, honestly, it made everything worth it. If I didn't do any other redemptions ever again, like that in itself was so
I mean,
cool.
to travel more and to share it is huge. And also, like, London's expensive.
Very expensive.
If we didn't do this, I think it would definitely have been cut from our list, maybe. Or we would have.
We only had $2,000 for the week, and that went fast.
Really fast.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad we had the redemptions for it.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next one we got? Business class. Oh yeah, our first spoiled lay down flat.
That was wild.
That
felt like I definitely was not supposed to be there.
Honestly, yeah, I felt like I didn't belong. Yeah. I spilled champagne all over myself and felt like they were gonna kick me out. And then instead I felt like once I spilled the champagne, I thought they were just gonna bring me in like a suit to change into and like bathe me. Like the service was at such a level that I felt like I was out of my element.
I did too.
I was like, what is happening?
I also like. Did you like look around and think like, where like how did these people get it? Like I just looked around and I was like, what do you do for work? Like how did you get here? Did you also?
No, I had the inverse thought and thought people were looking at me like, what's
oh
this
no,
guy?
for sure. Oh, for sure. I feel like, and also like people walk by you to like the economy plus because like that's in the same part of the plane, and I feel like they were looking at us going like, what?
Nah, that's all.
That's honestly, in my head for sure,
100%.
but like still,
like. There's all kinds of people that are flying business class for different reasons.
I'm just saying. I felt like people were looking at us going like, because I've done the same thing. I've walked by people and been like, how? How is this happening?
How do you ever get there?
It was almost a $5,000 flight a piece.
That's true.
A piece. That was each of us $5,000. But instead we paid 60,000 points a piece.
Now I really believe that. I mean, I think there are people out there who obviously have money. There are some that might fly really regularly or work for a really nice corporation that's what they get to do. But I bet you there's a lot of people out there that are doing what we did to get those seats.
Yeah, well, definitely people in front of, like 2 rows in front of us are like a baby. And I'm like, I feel like I heard them talking about it.
About point redemption?
Yeah.
Well, and this is the thing, like there were definitely people doing that. And it makes sense because it's probably one of the best redemptions you can get.
Yeah.
And when we talk about, that million points, if you're thinking... a point cent per point kind of baseline.
Yeah, very baseline.
You're getting like so many times more that value.
Yeah.
Just because to pay out of pocket for one of those fancy first class business class flight.
I'm telling you, it was a $5,000 flight almost. It was like 4 something.
Yeah. How much do we spend on points? Like
60,000.
60,000. So if you think about 60,000, that's like 600 a piece.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
But then also like 5,000 a piece.
Right.
I'm not talking about each was 4.
So do the math on that multiplier.
Yeah, it was a lot per point. So business class flight, that was also JFK to Frankfurt in case you're
Dude, that
curious.
made flying fun. It was like part of the itinerary because we had like gourmet food. I watched like the entire season of Last of Us on the plane. It was like an event in itself.
I watched like 4 movies. No, it was awesome. Like if it was overnight, I definitely would have actually gone to sleep.
Yeah, I think now that I've done it, I really think I would reserve it for really long haul flights, especially overnight.
Yeah, I agree.
But like if I'm jumping over to Europe, maybe...
It was like a 7-hour flight. That's not that bad. Like we've done so many of those at this point.
I think we're just used to it. Some people may not really like flying. So if 7 hours is long for you and you want to do that, go for it.
It's cool. So business class flight, I mean, that was a once in a lifetime thing. So another cool, like not huge redemption, but very convenient thing has been like road trip stopovers. So we've done a couple of these, but I think like what comes to mind is we were driving home from, I think, Disney World. Yeah, it was definitely Disney World, which is about a 21-hour drive for us.
It's a long time.
It's a long drive, and we've done it in a day, and it's been a thing, and we've done it.
But now we're old.
And we got to at the end of our trip at Disney, and we were just like, we just can't, like, we can't drive this, like, in one day. We're tired, and we had like Norway coming up, and so we kind of at last minute decided, like, let's just stop in like one of the Carolinas, and we were able to like go on our app and like do a free night certificate or buy something with Marriott. I can't remember what one of the others.
We used the Bonvoy, and we had points because we had the bonus still, and we used the Bonvoy
for like one night. And it was like easy, and it was free, and it made that decision so much easier to just be like, yep, you know what, we're just gonna stop. We're gonna have this nice night and whatever. Like it was a small redemption. It's not quite as fun as telling people that you flew business class,
but it added flexibility.
Exactly, and free travel is free travel. Yeah.
Yep.
One of our very first redemptions ever, like not transfer redemptions, and this is still within this kind of May to now, May 2022. Is we did a Christmas in Portugal. So we bought our flights with cash. It's what they call when you don't use points and miles. We did not actually pay cash, but that's what they just call it. Because we were super cheap. We got them off Scotch cheap flights, or now it's called Going, which we love, and we use them all the time. We have a link in the show notes for percentage off. But we got them for like $400 a piece. And so we were just like, yeah, we'll just buy them. And if we wanted to, we could have erased them with Capital One for 40,000 points. If we really wanted to not, pay anything.
Yeah, but those are still like COVID-y prices.
So nice. Although I've seen some really good ones lately. Like if I could travel between November and May of this year, oh my gosh, there's so many good points redemptions. I saw one today for, I think it was like $600. That doesn't seem right.
Do you think things are cooling off after this summer? Was this summer like the big
it was
boom,
wild.
And now things are kind of coming back down a bit?
Yeah, for sure.
I'd be on the lookout because I know we posted in the Facebook group a couple.
I'm telling you, if you are looking to travel to Europe or like South America or Central America from now until May, like you need to sign up for Scotch cheap flights / Going, because I've just gotten so many. Like I just wish, yeah, it was so good. Anyways, $400 flight, so we're like, yeah, let's go. We didn't know anything about Vigo, Spain, or Porto, Portugal, really at all. We did 3 and 3 nights, so 3 nights in Portugal and 3 nights in Spain. And we paid for all of our hotels with a combination of Marriott points and free night certificate. No, it was the Capital One Venture X travel credit. So you get a $300 travel credit, which makes that $400 a year a lot easier to swallow. Mm-hmm. And the hotels were really cheap in Vigo, Spain, and so we got all 3 nights for that $300. I think we paid $20 extra. Yeah. For the 3 nights.
And they were nice Spain. Too. They were nice. They were not like what's the word? Not economy, but like
hostels.
Yeah, they weren't like the cheapest option by far at all.
No. We could have gone even cheaper, but we splurged on the $20 extra, and then we got the other nights I think from the Marriott Bonvoy account. So yeah, just some nice once if you have to pay for part of your trip, but then you can have the other half free. It makes everything else so much easier. So we spent. I don't think we've done an episode on this yet, but we spent $1,500. With our trip for the 2 of us for a week for Christmas in Portugal / Spain. So, I mean, how can you beat that? $1,500?
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Like, that's not even Disney tickets for a week.
Oh, I know.
Much less anything else.
It's such a cool trip.
It was such a cool trip.
Christmas markets I didn't even know they had Christmas markets like that. And I guess it was in Spain. Yeah.
Yeah, Vigo.
But wow, that was so cool.
That was, yeah.
Food was great.
It's okay. I don't want to give away too much because we're definitely going to do an episode on this, but that Vigo market was not expected.
Dude, also one of my favorite things, we went to that place that they had what's the drink? It's not wine. It's what you put in a Manhattan.
Oh, vermouth.
Vermouth, but the vermouth was like a thing there, like a whole cocktail. People home their own made.
Well, yeah, it was
You can't find that here.
No,
maybe
I wish.
You go. I bet you go to New York City. Maybe there's
if you know of a place that is like a vermouth bar in the U.S.
Because the only time you see vermouth is when it's like in a drink and it's just mixed. But they had it was the beverage.
Yeah, no, it was. It was like instead of a glass of wine, you had a glass of vermouth, and it was in like a cocktail, like a martini glass.
Yeah,
but it was just vermouth. It was very cool. It was very good,
and then good cheese too.
Yeah. And then some I guess you can call them smaller trips. I feel like for most people these would actually be pretty big trips.
Well, they could be, but it's also these other ones were more international, longer duration.
Yeah, except for the stopover.
Yep.
So this is like more akin to the stopover. But again, guys, what we're telling you is not just like our trips for the year. These are only things we paid for with points and miles. So we've done other things. This is just 4 points and miles we paid for these. So one was we went to a friend's trip for Halloween Horror Nights, which we just went to. We just talked about it in our last episode for the Halloween. We didn't pay for the hotels, but we paid for our flights. Again, this is one of those things where it's like, if you can pay for our flights or hotels with points, like it makes the rest of the trip so much more manageable in terms of money. So that's what we did. We split the hotel costs because there were a whole bunch of us, and we paid for our own flights with points and miles.
Yep. We saved all the money for snacks.
Yeah.
And our tickets.
And the tickets are expensive. Same thing with Disney World. We do this often, actually, to Disney World. JetBlue and Southwest, we kind of just
pick whichever one we want.
Yeah, whichever one has the better itinerary. Yeah, but again, this is like Disney World's expensive. If you don't have to pay to fly there or drive there, like that at least takes a big chunk out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then trip to see friends in Panama City. This is, again, kind of like a stopover for road trips. Yeah. But they upgraded us. It was nice.
Oh, that's another fringe benefit. So like when you get all these different credit cards, sometimes they give you automatic access on like a certain loyalty level. Yeah. Which usually gives you upgrades and fun stuff like that.
Yeah. And they'll greet you with like, welcome, priority
esteemed
member.
Guest.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, thanks. I've stayed here once.
Yeah, right, exactly. But Panama, it's nice. This Panama City, Florida is pretty expensive. Like, it's a beach location. So to get a free night there it allowed us to do the trip. Because otherwise, like, I think that night was $350. And we used it for a free night certificate. So it was like, it just made so much more sense, And then the last one, another dad trip, because this is another, like, one that we did in the very beginning, was we went to Disneyland and brought my dad. And we did Burbank and then Disneyland. And so when we stayed in Burbank, the hotels for that we covered with points and miles. Mm-hmm. We didn't cover the Disneyland ones, but the Burbank ones we did. And it was a nice hotel.
It was.
Yeah, it had like a rooftop.
It was close to Hollywood too.
Yeah, it was on that cool like street. It had that cool bar.
I know, I'm trying to remember what that was. But it was a really cool area because that's where a lot of people who work in the film industry live. Yeah, definitely. It like felt like you were in a movie. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, all of those trips we just said, we paid for at least partially with points and miles, and that's spending only a third of what we've accumulated. Like, it's just wild to me. Yeah, and again, all we did, we paid attention to what cards we have, and getting the intro bonuses was key. And we've talked about that before, but it really wasn't that hard. No. And if you listen to our episodes and go back and kind of read through what we've put together for how we did it, I think you'll find that by spending your normal amounts of money, you could do this too. But essentially always being like working on a minimum spend, which is usually about $3,000 in 3 months. I don't know about you, but I at least do spend $1,000 a month on everything. So we just are always working towards that. If we have any major expenses, obviously we open up a new card, things like that. This is a great time, by the way, right before Christmas expenses and everything, to look for your next card. I believe Capital One still has their upgraded or elevated bonus for the Capital One Venture X, the one that we have. I think it's 90,000 points right now. Yeah, that's really good. But only with a referral code. Like, it has to be like a specific refer a friend, but like not everyone has them. Like, so the big accounts don't have them. Oh, okay, right, makes sense. We don't have like a fancy refer code. We just literally have like, you're my friend, here's the card code. Right. And I think I have 5 of them. So I might put that link down in the show notes, just if you're looking for one for Christmas spend and everything. Yeah, because this is the time people definitely rack up spending right now. You're already going to spend it. Why not like make money back for it? Do it. And one other thing, Shelly was looking at her credit score from May 2022 before we started doing this to now, and she's actually gone up like 30 points. Yeah. So for people who are kind of like, Bruce has pretty much stayed steady. Yeah, mine's been it's been good. It's been a good credit score, so I don't think mine. I think once you're over 800, it doesn't do a ton. You know what I mean? It kind of bounces back and forth between like 810 and 830, but it doesn't do much. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but it does kind of seem static at some point. Yeah, mine was right below 800. Like, it was like 780 or something. And then once I started this travel hacking, like, I think it was the available credit.
like I had little dings on it when I'd open a card, but then that available credit would hit and my score would shoot back up. And so it got me over 800. I think my dad said the same thing.
Yeah, he said, yeah, exactly. Because
he wanted to do the same thing. He was like, I'm just like stuck at this one point in my credit score and I can't get it to go up. And I was like, open a credit card. And he was like, that seems counterproductive. And I was like, it sounds like it is. And he did it, and that's what happened.
It diversifies your like loans. The more, I think, types of loans or credit cards you have and the more available credit you have, I think that's a big help.
I think it's I don't know about the diversification piece, but I know that the available credit helps. Because it'll be like, you are only using like 0.5%.
Right.
Because we have a million credit cards. So anywho, just in case you're worried about what it will do, although we are not financial experts, do not come for us to say, I did this for my credit score and now it's not going up. We're just telling you our personal experience and what we've done. But yeah, that is
that's a wrap on it.
Crazy successful year. I would never have thought when I started this in May that I'd be here, like already checking off one of my very major like lifetime goals, which is a business class to Europe. Like that's a lifetime goal. So it's just really cool to be like, you know, a year in and be like, okay, well, I did that. You know, it's cool.
So think about where you could be in a year from now.
Yeah.
If you kind of go back and get started.
Yeah, it's some time, but like, I mean, you can't say it's not worth it. So
no, it's definitely
if you're serious about traveling, you got family or anything, this is the way.
But let us know. Join the Facebook group. Check out the links in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll see you. Oh, and if you have any questions, contact at travelmorepodcast.com. We try to answer them. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Did you know that every time you book a Disney or Universal vacation, you're paying for a service that you may not even be using?
Really?
That's right. Travel agent costs are added to your Disney or Universal vacation, whether you use one or not.
So you're telling me that I'm paying for something even though I'm not getting the help?
You got it. So next time you want to book a theme park vacation, make your money work for you. By booking with Magic Pass Travel, you'll get our expertise and years of experience without paying any extra and while supporting a small business.
Check out our show notes to find our contact information.
Can't wait to help you plan your next adventure.